give you a question and you just have to plug in the answer and make sure and verify what's the answer. So today we're just going to take a step further and get the answer on your own and then still do a check. So I'm going to add in the second direction here. Solve each equation, then do a check. Check your answer. First things first, go ahead and start with double signs. So before you say, I want to do this to both sides, take care of double signs. We did this when we were doing the Khan Academy adding, subtracting integers. All right, so minus a -4, rewrite the whole thing. Don't just make a little note. Don't write over it, please. Don't just like put a big plus over it. Just rewrite the whole thing. You're interested in accuracy, not speed. Speed, because you finished first, doesn't give you any extra points. It never has. So make your focus on doing things correctly. Now, before we get into all the steps, and here's how you do the problem, here's how you solve the problem, here's the steps you have to remember to solve the problem. Don't forget that this is sometimes just a second grade question written in algebra form. This is asking you, what number plus 4 is 21? 17 plus 4 is 21. Right? So it's not that far from what we already know, it's just written in an equation form. So it's good to interpret this and understand what this actually means. Right? And 17. How can you get 17 from 21 and 4? So if you subtract 4 from 21, you get 17, the answer. And it turns out, of course, you have to do the same thing on both sides. So it's somewhat intuitive on what you're supposed to do and how to get the answer. There's one way of saying, well, I know it's 17, which is the same as 21 minus 4, so I should probably subtract 4 on both sides, and that gives me my answer. A few things. Try to line everything up exactly, so the equal sign should be directly below. The variables or something that you don't change should be in the exact same place from line to line. Anything that equals 0, you don't have to rewrite. So you don't have to put b plus 0. Just drop the zeros altogether. But if everything else is not that bad, not that difficult, focus on just keeping things organized and lined up. Okay. And then go ahead and do a check. So we still have to do the check. It's the same thing you did on yesterday's assignment. Plug it in and verify you get the same thing on both sides. So 17 minus -4. And once again, the two negatives make a positive. So 17 plus 4. And you'll see a lot of the same numbers on both sides. It's more apparent when we get down to the positive one. If it's the same number, go ahead and just put a check. Now, if you honestly get a different number, I see a lot of people just say, oh, this one's -21. Oh, it's basically the same, check. It's not. That means your answer is wrong. Don't do that. Okay? Only put a check if, honestly, you got the same number on both sides. And this is what you do on your homework and then on your quizzes. So you should be able to turn in your quiz saying, I know my score. I know I got these right because they checked out. And this one, maybe I got it wrong. I couldn't get the check to work. Maybe it's incorrect. So you have a good idea of what's right and what's wrong from the very beginning, not like getting your quiz back and saying, oh, I didn't know I got that one wrong. I thought I got it right. You'll know before you turn it in. All right, so let's go down to a few more. Go to 5. Okay. So -3 plus what is -21? Or another way of looking at that, what minus 3 is -21? Right. So you might be able to come up with the answer. If not, just start on the side of the variable. This is a -3. You want to make it 0. How can I make that 0? Do the opposite. Add 3. So it's always the opposite here. One's positive and one's negative always when you're adding, subtracting. And of course, same thing on both sides. Now we've done a lot of practice with positive, negative numbers. So I hope at this point you see -21 plus 3, you know that the answer is -18. If not, remember you are allowed to use a calculator. Even on tests, quizzes, final, whatever. Okay? But it just can't be on your phone. So I don't want you, somebody unfortunately at the end of every year kind of figures that out. I mean, I have to use a calculator the whole year. I'm probably would have done a lot better if I just would have got it from the beginning of the year instead of waiting until my, my grade was low or something. Just get it, use it. Get a regular calculator, 99 cents from the Big Lots, and use it. You don't have to worry about missing any algebra problem because you don't know positive and negative very well, or you don't even know fractions because they're calculated through fractions. You're allowed to use it, so get it. Just can't has to have a real one on the test and quizzes. Can't be a phone. Okay. So do a check. -3 minus 18. Sure enough, the signs are the same. So we add them up and it stays negative. -21 equals -21. Not too bad, right? You can do this. Do like something like 11. Now these are not so obvious as far as like, well, yeah, I can figure out like number one, we knew the answer was 17 just by looking at it. But here's where it starts being like, I can't just look at this and know 1/3 plus what is 22 over 15 negative. So we have to rely more on our arithmetic. But still, same thing. There's no sign here, so it's automatically a positive. I want this to be 0, so I subtracted. I did the opposite. Always different signs. For fractions, we're used to doing them this way, horizontally. So instead of writing -1/3 below, I want to write it to the side here, like we normally do. A nice big straight line. That cancels out, meaning equals 0. My variable dropping straight down. Equal sign, straight down. Figure out what this is. Do some common denominators. What goes into 15 and, what does 15 and 3 both go into evenly? And 15, so that means we need a common denominator of 15 for both of them. Right? And this is the same things we've been practicing for a week. How do you do the common denominator? We get 5 over 15 and -22. And that simplifies to -22 minus 5 is -27. If anything else, just focus on keeping things lined up, vertical, organized, so you can follow work. And also, so you can look at somebody else's work and understand what they're doing. So if you don't need to show the work for yourself, think about, well, I need my work to make sense, so if somebody else needs to learn how to do it, they can look at my work and actually understand it. If you have a bunch of gibberish or it's hard to tell where did you get that from because your variables are over the place, you don't show the common denominator stuff, very difficult for somebody to learn it. Does this reduce? Yes, this does reduce. So if it reduces, you must do that. So 3 goes into both. So go ahead and reduce it as well. So we'll have -9 over 5. So you saw this in Khan Academy. If you try to put -27 or 15, it'll say, you're right, almost. It doesn't mark it wrong, though. You just have to go back and reduce the fraction, and then it gives it to you without any penalty. So try to remember, always do that. It's about looking at 27 and 15 and just knowing automatically those are both multiples of 3. 3 go into both of them. All right, now do the check. So we got 1/3 plus -9/5. That's our answer. And that should equal -22 over 15. And you can quickly start seeing why we spend so much time on practicing fractions ahead of time. Get your common denominator, 15. Put 3 and 5 both go into evenly. Multiply this by 5, this by 5, this by 3, this by 3. And you'll kind of notice you're working the problem backwards at this point. We had to divide by 3 to get their answer, right? To get -9/5. We're kind of working backwards now and just showing the same thing in reverse. Okay. -27/5. And we have 5 over 15 right here. So you're going to start seeing a lot of the same numbers. And sure enough, -27 plus 5 is -22. Same thing on both sides, so you're good to go. This works for any equation all the time. Some are more difficult. just some decimals on the back, but I just urge you to take care of double signs first, so you know what you should be doing to both sides. Some people will look at this and say, oh, I should subtract. It's an addition sign. I should subtract both sides, but once you simplify, you can see you need to add on both sides. So we'll leave it at that. You can tell that these are not necessarily difficult, but they do take a little bit of time. It will get faster with all the practice. By the time you get to the last few problems, you'll be going at a much faster pace and feeling pretty confident. So we'll spend the rest of the day, part of tomorrow, finishing this up. I'll collect this one and 15, the checking your solution, tomorrow by the end of class. So you have the Khan Academy due, you got both of these due by tomorrow, the end of class, for grades. Okay? And you have the rest of the period, go to work.